All right, guys, injuries from the game. Aaron Banks ended up being a shoulder, mild strain. He'll be day-to-day. And guys who missed the game, just Elijah with his knee, he continues to be day-to-day. We'll see over the next 2 days if he'll be ready for Wednesday. Go ahead, guys.
Is that a big sigh of relief to hear about Aaron Banks?
Yes. Anytime it's the bicep, we were obviously nervous about it, and still an injury, but not as bad as it could have been.
Kyle, Drake Jackson was out of the game for just a little bit. Was that anything that is reportable?
He got the wind knocked out of him.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, Kyle, the last 3 games, there have been penalties on plays in which, Christian McCaffrey has had his, face mask yanked, helmet-to-helmet hits. Is that anything that concerns you? Do you see anything out of the ordinary? Is that something that does the team believe that maybe teams are starting to target him?
No, I don't think they're trying to do it. I don't think teams are trying to hit him in the helmet or trying to face mask him. I think people are desperate on how to bring him down. I mean, you look at the tackle versus Arizona. If that guy didn't do all that stuff, Christian was walking in for a touchdown or carrying him in for a touchdown. And guys, when you run that hard, guys do whatever they can to get a guy down, and sometimes they grab onto the face mask. The helmet to helmets, those are tight windows. Christian runs really good routes, and our quarterback's putting it in tight areas, and those guys are committed to trying to stop it. And when that happens, it's really hard to do without doing that. So when you got such a really great player like Christian who's fearless, guys are doing everything they can to try to stop them. And sometimes when they do that, they get penalties for it.
Kyle, after a thorough beating of what was thought to be a pretty good team like that, like half-joking comments about the 1972 Dolphins and, it's time to just put the Niners in the Super Bowl. Do you have a locker room, at this point where you don't have to go through the whole kind of, or worry maybe too much about the whole week-to-week, let's keep our head, let's stay humble and all that stuff, or kind of, where do you fall as far as not buying into all the hype?
I think it's, I'm definitely aware of the question and how that could happen, but it's honestly been really easy with our guys. We got a real good team in that way. It's kind of, just going into that game versus Dallas, how hyped that game was, and just the way they carried themselves in our building throughout the week, they weren't making much out of it. It was kind of like any other game and just any other week. And I think we got a good group of veterans who have been through a lot of stuff. Even still guys who were here from our 19 year when we started 8-0. And I think the guys who have been here and who have gone through stuff, they pass it to the other guys, and it's always our message that nothing can be taken for granted, and it's just 1 week at a time. And I think everyone preaches that, but I think through our life experiences together and stuff, our guys truly know it, and the guys who haven't been a part of that, they constantly hear it from the guys who have.
Kyle, there was a sequence, I think, in 5 plays in the third quarter where Brock hit Ayuk a couple times, one of which got called back, and then the one to Debo there. I'm just wondering, I know you say you kind of just have grown to expect certain things from Brock, but when you see things like that, are there still things that he's doing that kind of surprises you or amazes you in some ways?
Just the consistency. He does it all the time, but just to continue doing it at such a high rate has been pretty unbelievable. Just how good he's been, how many plays he's made, and how many plays he hasn't made for the other team. The consistency of that has been what's been impressive the most.
Kyle, getting back to Christian for a second. Aside from the face mask and the other hitting, he took a lot of hard hits in that game. At least it seemed like. Did he come out of it none the worse for wear, knowledge?
As far as my knowledge, talking to him after the game, he was all right, and then I got no reports from the training staff today. But yeah, they were bringing it. They were ready for that game, and they hit hard. They didn't shy away from anything, and it was very similar to how they were when we played them in the playoffs last year. And Christian doesn't shy away from anything either. That Christian ran so hard in that game, and He tried to bring it on them every chance that he got and had some really good, tough runs. There's one in particular I thought we were going to lose about 3 yards on it. He got 5. There's a couple, there's a 3rd and 2 that I thought was blocked for 1, and he ended up getting 2.5. So he did some really hard running. But those guys, definitely their safeties and their edge players, they bring it, and that's something we knew going into the game.
Only had 2 quarterback pressures in 29 pass rushes. What can you say about your offensive line's performance after looking at the tape?
I thought they did a real good job. I mean, that team's a huge challenge, as hard as it gets in terms of pass protecting. I thought we did a lot better than we did last year. There were still some that they got in there, but we were able to get rid of the ball. And they ended up having, I believe, just that 1 sack, and there's a few plays that were risky plays for us to try a little farther down the field that sometimes gives those guys a chance to make plays because how good their pass rush was. And on those plays in particular, our guys really manned up and gave Brock the time and was able to lead a couple touchdowns.
Yesterday, Diamador Lenore said that he was thankful that Steve Wilkes trusted his DBs to play a lot of man coverage. How are you looking at the evolution of your defense as far as what Steve is calling on the back end? And is that something where, you're encouraging him to be focused on peaking at the right time later in the season as far as the coverage combinations and all that he's calling?
Yeah, I think it's more, Steve's such a good coordinator and he's been doing this for so long that, Steve knows what he's doing. It's more getting used to our guys and how to do what he loves doing with our group. And that's always a challenge for our coordinators. Each year is different. It is for me. It is for him. Because what you want to do depends on how your players are. And Steve being the new guy here, each game I think he picks up on that more and more. And I've loved how he's been. I think each game he gets stronger and better at it. And not just better at it, but just how to use our scheme with their guys, and he's mixed up a ton of stuff, and thought we did a little bit more man yesterday, and the way the secondary was ready, which, that starts with him and Bullocks, because that's the area that they focus on the most. Those guys were so aggressive in their coverages, which allows us to have a better pass rush, and even to have that tight man coverage at the end where Demo had that slant and ended up causing that pick with the tip. I was real impressed with their preparation and how it looked on film.
Kyle, you guys scored a touchdown on 4 of your 5 opening drives this year. Is there an overemphasis on them just during the week, getting off the fast starts? And when you see those opening scores, how does that impact you guys' mindset, confidence, just for the rest of the game as far as the players go?
It's not really something we talk about because, we talk the same on every drive. And we want the urgency from first play to last play. So there's nothing that we really overdo in that way. Because we feel that's the standard for everything. And I think our guys have just played well. They've done a good job. And when things haven't worked out clean, we've been able to make some key third downs that keep us on the field. And that's usually the key to leading to points.
Kyle, you said the other day that Gregory would be arriving today. Is that still the case? And is the plan to kind of throw him right in full throttle to start?
Yeah, we'll throw him in Wednesday. I haven't checked this morning on when he's flying in and stuff. I was told he's flying in today. I ended up giving the players off, so we're not seeing them right now. But I'm sure when he gets in later today or tomorrow, he'll start meeting with Chris Eric.
Anything else?
Kyle, circling back to Diamador Lenore. He is a man that can easily get, lost in the fold, given all the big names on the defense. What can you speak to his rise and how he's able to really anchor opposite of Charvarius Ward?
I think Demo's been huge for us, man. I thought it started that way last year. The way he finished last season, the second half, I thought he was playing at an extremely high level. He took that into the off season. He's continued this week. He's continued it this year. I think his play has been very good, and I think last night might have been his best game of the year so far.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
Kyle, another psychological question, but do you think the way last season ended in Philadelphia has provided fuel for y'all in a way other postseason defeats haven't? Maybe it's a product of it being most recent among postseason defeats, but I don't know. Has that provided?
Yeah, I think I think every one of those do. I think every one of those do for sure. I mean, players don't always get the chance over their careers to be in those type of situations, and we've been in 3 pretty big situations in the last 4 years here, and so a lot of our team has been in one of those 3 situations, and some have been in all of them, from the Super Bowl or both of those championship losses. And you get that as a coach because you usually are in the league longer as you get older and stuff. But you always realize with your time in this league on how nothing could be taken for granted. And the only time you do learn that stuff is when seasons end and when they end the hard way, like in a Super Bowl or like in 2 championships. And when that happens, you know how hard it is to get there. And that's really all that matters. And that's why when you go through that stuff, you preach it and you actually truly mean it. And when your players can go through that and they feel it along with the coaching staff, that takes a toll. And that makes the off seasons different. That makes how you attack everything different. And I feel it from our players a ton. They've been through a lot. We've added some new guys this year who I think have jumped right in. But I think our guys have been on a mission for a while.